Hi, this is Lady Lex UK and here is another tutorial for Project Spark, and today we're going to be looking at how to set up user-defined controls for your player. So when you're playing a game, you can choose from either a set of controls like you would for, say, Call of Duty, where you have a choice of different control sets for how you would like to play, or a more complicated version which allows you to define what each action, which button is each action. So let's start off with the easy method, and that's how to give them the option of a few different sets of controls. So let's show you what that looks like. So here we have my player, and it says choose control setup. I can't move. I can move the camera, but I can't move my player. It says press A for A to jump, Y to shoot, X to punch, and press B for A to jump, right trigger to shoot, left trigger to punch. So I've got to make a decision about which one I want. We'll go with the standard one, that's A. So press A, and I'm armed with the sword, and I've got A to jump, X to flail about with my sword, and Y to shoot a fireball. And that's the standard setup. So let's try it again. Let's choose B this time. So I'll choose B. And I've got a gun this time. I've got a gun, and it's right trigger to shoot because I've got a gun. And left trigger is punching, and A is jumping, the same as it was before. There we go. So there is our setup. So let's see how that works. Well, let's go into the player brain. And I've stripped everything out of his brain apart from the follow camera and his team. But all the action buttons, they're all taken out of his brain. We don't need them in there because we're going to put them in these logic cubes. Here's our choosing logic cube here. And here is our control setups here. And these are templates. So make those templates, otherwise when you press buttons, these boxes are going to fire and things when you don't want that. So you've got to make these templates. This one isn't a template, this is our choosing brain. It's quite a simple setup. It just displays choose your control, and then press A4, and then we've got all these lines that just display the controls that are in that set. So it's A to jump, Y to shoot, X to punch. Now don't forget, if you're displaying a tile for the buttons, then make sure you've picked the icon and not the actual button. Use the icon in the heart shape gallery and not the button itself for display purposes, otherwise it's not going to work properly. So display A, Y and X, and then A, right trigger, left trigger are shown screen top right, so you've got the two different sets. And then you say when A is pressed once, wooden peasant add brain control set A, and that's your logic cube, your templated logic cube. And then we'll destroy this choice cube. Or if B is pressed, then you put control B into the peasant's brain and then destroy this cube. And that's it. And then if you look at our controls, here's control brain A. We've got the health meter in there. We've got equipping a sword, left stick move, A to jump, Y to shoot, X to attack, and there's our detect code. So this is basically a third player adventure brain with just a sword equipped. And here is the second brain. I've just changed the resource meter so it's slightly different as well. And he's got a gun equipped, and here is all of his controls, right trigger and left trigger instead of the previous ones. And that's it. And that's basically it. That's all it does. It will put one or other of these brains, and obviously you can have as many of these as choices as you want, and give your player the option to choose a brain. And there's various ways you can display that in this cube, but this is the simplest way. Just two options, one left, one right, make your pick. So that's the nice simple way of getting your player to feel like he's, making some sort of choice. So we'll just turn that brain off, and we'll turn this choice brain on. This is a more complicated brain, and in this brain we're going to be giving the player total choice of here's controls. So again, I have a player, I can move the camera, but I can't move him. And it says choose buttons. Now I have to choose a button to jump. I'll choose A, to punch, B, and shoot. Let's do the right trigger. So now it says you have chosen A to jump, B to punch, and right trigger to shoot. It says happy, press A, choose again, press B. Well, let's choose again. I'm not happy with that decision. I think I'll change the jump to something else. So I'll press B. Right, jump. I'm going to do left trigger to jump, and X to punch, and right trigger to shoot. So now it says you have chosen left trigger to jump, X to punch, right trigger to shoot. See, now I'm still not happy. I'm going to choose again. So A to jump, and Y to punch, and right trigger to shoot. So you can see you've got lots and lots of options. Let's just choose again. A to jump, A to punch. Oh no, button's already assigned it. I can't choose it. I've got to choose another one. X to punch, Y to shoot. There we go, standard brain. I'm happy with that. And because I've pressed A, he jumps. And it's Y for eyeball and X to... There we go. So we've got lots of options there. And I could choose as many as I liked. And I could, until I got it exactly how I wanted, I could go through it numerous times. So let's have a look at the brains and see how it works. Here's page 1. We'll talk about that cool page in a minute. So it's cool page 6. I'll explain that in a minute. Right, display, choose buttons, and then display to jump. So this is our first page, and we're going to ask him what is the button you want for the jump. And then we'll say, when this page is entered, so this is the first page in our first options, we're going to set an object set, which I've called controls. And we're going to put lots of objects in there which represent each of the buttons on my controller. So there's an A, a B, an X, a Y, left trigger, left button, right trigger, right button. Now, Project Spark only allows you to create object sets of real objects. You can't create an object set of object variables that don't actually exist. They have to physically exist. So this is what cool page 6 is all about. If we go to page 6, once equals A object variable equals create acorn, B equals create acorn, X equals create acorn. So what I'm doing is I'm creating a physical object for each of these buttons, and I've created these acorns, which as you can see is in this world, is a templated object. I've made it invisible so that you can't see it, because we don't really want our workings to be shown, so that all these acorns lying around the place. But anyway, that's the object we're going to create that represents a button. And that way we can create an object set that we can remove and add objects to. And the reason we want to do that is we want to be able to get the player to choose unique buttons for unique actions, so they can't choose the same button for two different actions. So how this works is when you press A on this page, we're going to set the jump variable. This is a text variable. We're going to say jump equals A. So jump equals A, and then our control set, we're going to remove our object A, our button A acorn. We'll remove that from that set. And then we're going to switch to page 2. And you do that for every button. So when B is pressed, jump equals B, controls is decremented by B, and then we'll switch to page 2. And you do that for all of the buttons. So we'll go to page 2. We'll say choose buttons. This time it's display punch. And we say, when you press A, and then we ask, does the control set contain A? If it does, then you can use it. Punch equals A. Controls are decremented by A, so we're removing A from the controls, and then we'll switch to page 3. But if it isn't there, then there's an error. Error equals true. And we'll say when error equals true, display button already assigned. And then we're going to play an error noise, and then there's a countdown timer, and then that error equals false, so we can use it again. And you do that for all the buttons. So when B is pressed, if controls contains B, then you can use it, etc, 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 and you go all the way down for these buttons. And then we go to page 3, and this time it's to shoot. So there's our error again at the top there, and then so A pressed. If A is still available, then you can make it A. This time it's the shoot variable. Controls, remove the A, and then switch to page 4. So now we go to page 4, and it says you have chosen, and then you set up every single option for jump. So if jump equals A, then display the A icon. Remember, it's the icon, not the button, to jump. If they press B, then it's B to jump, X to jump, and you do that all for jump, all the way down, and then you do it all for punch, and then you do it all for shoot. And then you say, are you happy? Press A. Choose again, press B. And then this countdown timer is here to stop you from activating these from the previous page. So when A is pressed, switch to page 5, which is, so you've said, I'm happy, we'll go to page 5. B is pressed, so I'm not happy, we'll go back to page 1. And if you remember on page 1, it's resetting that control set and putting all those icons back in the control set so that we can start again and choose different buttons. And as you can see, it doesn't matter how many times you want to do it, you can do it as many times as you like. It'll just keep going back and you can redo all the buttons. Now we go to page 5, and this is where you've decided, yes, I want to continue. We'll make the global jump variable equal the jump variable in this cube, and same for punch and same for shoot. And then our woodland peasant, we're going to add the brain, which is controls. And then for each of the acorns that we've created, we'll destroy them and we'll deactivate this brain. So there's no longer choose, it's all been decided and done. Or you could destroy the brain, it's up to you. Now here is our control brain. Now we're calling some pages. We're calling page 2 and we're calling page 3. This is our display meter, our left stick to move, and this is our interaction. And then we're saying if global jump equals A, then when you press A, you jump. If it's B, then it's B to jump. If it's X to jump, Y to jump, etc, 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 etc. So that's the jump page. This is the punch page. There's all the options for the punch page, and here is the shoot page. And that is it. It's a lot of code lines, but it's mostly cutting and pasting, so it just takes a bit more time to make, but it's not overly complicated. You're just copying and pasting the same thing over and over again. So when you can copy these whole pages and just change this variable here and this variable here. So it's not as much, you don't have to type every single line in. You can do lots of cutting and pasting and just alter the pages to suit. And this is your control brain. Exactly the same as it was before. We just add in, there's just one control brain, and all of the options that you've chosen here will be transferred to this using that global variable. And then your player is going to do all the controls that your player wants to use. I hope that's been useful to you. I'm sorry if it was a little complicated. It's quite a few lines, but a lot of you said you wanted more advanced tutorials, so there you go then. So thanks for watching and keep sparking.